Welcome to Philip Kiszely. Welcome, Philip.
Hi, Kev. It's great to see you again.
Always good to have you on board. And quite a weekend, quite a lot to talk about. We won't burden you with thoughts about today, perhaps in passing. It's worth talking about, because I feel that one of the aspects of what's been going on today is not so much, of course, we're respecting and honouring the brave heroes who saved this country's freedom, who sacrificed their lives, the people who sacrificed so much. And I'm just wondering whether also among the crowds today, particularly here in London and around the country, whether or not some of the older people, like perhaps me, were quietly mourning, grieving for a country that I think we've lost. I'm not sure that spirit, the spirit that this country showed when we went to war with Germany, is still there. Whether or not the entire nation would mobilise behind the government and help to win the war. We won the war because the nation backed the government. I'm not sure it would happen again. But perhaps we'll refer to that along the way. But first off, let's go to some basic politics, bad politics, by the Leader of the House, senior cabinet minister, very seasoned politician, Lucy Powell, who on Friday appeared on the BBC's Any Questions, good programme on Radio 4, the kind of radio version of Question Time on BBC One, if anybody's not aware of it, long-running programme. Also on that programme was a friend of this show, good guy, former Tory commentator, very prominent Tory commentator. He founded the Conservative Home website, Tim Montgomery, who has, over the past few months, switched to Reform UK, partly in dismay over the migrant crisis. He just feels Nigel Farage talks for him more than the Tories of today do. Now, Tim made a point. He was making a point saying to Lucy, I don't know if you watched Channel 4's harrowing documentary, Grooming, a National Scandal. And she responded in the most career-destroying way, a really, really strange slipping of the mask, if you like. Let's just remind ourselves of what happened. So here it is, Tim Montgomery talking, and make a note of Lucy Powell's breathtaking response.
I don't know whether you saw the documentary on Channel 4 about rape gangs over this.
We want to blow that little trumpet now, do we? Yeah,
okay. There was a real issue.
Let's get that dog whistle out, shall we?
Okay, Lucy.
Yeah.
The councils, there were so many people who were so afraid for good. Can I just finish the point, just for 1 minute?
Finish that point, Tim, and then I'll bring in Helen.
Look, there were so many people in local government, in the authorities, who, for good reasons, were worried about upsetting community tensions, that those girls went undefended. Now, there were good reasons for it, but no one has still been brought to justice for that. So you tell me, Lucy, that this isn't a culture in local government. It's just not true.
Dear. Helen Morgan?
I think it's a total failure to understand how local government operates.
Well, there you are. I think a career-destroying moment, and I think it's when her mask slipped. These politicians... Now, I'm not saying that there aren't people in the Labour cabinet who don't genuinely feel sympathy for the victims of the grooming gang, the rape gang scandal. 250,000 vulnerable young white girls viciously raped and used like animals by predominantly Pakistani origin Muslim men, gangs of men. I think there are people in the Labour lineup who genuinely care for them. But we've seen too many examples lately from this party indicating that they don't really care. First of all, the announcement that they would cancel any prospect of a national inquiry into this scandal that the entire nation is calling for. And then Jess Phillips, who made that announcement when listening to the response from the Tory benches, shuffling around, flicking her pen, acting bored, performatively bored, you know. And this is an issue about young women who were raped, underage women. And now we've got Lucy Powell, who thinks, as an issue, it's just a political football. Oh, you're going to get, pass me the dog whistle. You're going to start blowing that trumpet again, are you? I mean, I don't think people will have liked that one bit. Do you, Philip?
No, I think it's not just what she says. It's as you say, Kev. It's how she says it. It's the sneering contempt that those horrible words were delivered with. We see that the mask slips there, and we see the person behind the mask. Although there's no real person behind the mask, there's no humanity, there's no empathy, there's no sympathy for these children. They're just reduced. Child victims of rape are just reduced to the status of political irritation. You know, for her, this is the same as potholes in the road or the bins not being emptied, people whinging about that. But the difference here is that the people who are complaining about children being raped, she doesn't see them as having integrity and really caring about children, because I don't think she does at all. She just sees them as, wait for it, racist. She can only ever think in terms of identity politics. You know, if we're thinking about victims and perpetrators here, for her, the perpetrators are actually the victims because they've got brown skin and they're the victims of systemic racism, and we have to understand that, and we have to make allowances for that and all of that kind of thing. I've got news for you, Lucy. We don't, because that's simply not true at all. They're not victims of anything. They are perpetrators of the most vile crimes, and these are the most vile sex crimes of our history. I was going to say of the post-war era, but no, come on, these are the terrible crimes of our history. And I keep coming back to this thing. It's this contempt, this utter contempt that they have for the British people, and particularly for white working class people. You see it time and time again, don't you? We saw it with Brexit. That was, you know, a real absolute iteration of that kind of thing. We see it with reform, and we see this sense of real hatred, class hatred, and I think people are just getting so sick of it, and people are I think shocked at what is coming out of these politicians' mouths. You know, every time we've talked on this show, how many times have we had these stories in which we're just flabbergasted, and I'm almost speechless when I find out how much money they're wasting, how they don't care about the people they're supposed to represent, and now how they're turning their backs on children who are being raped.
Exactly right. And as far as Lucy Powell is concerned, what Tim's doing, she sees Tim as some sort of big political opponent of Labour. Well, Tim isn't actually a politician. In fact, he's a friend of mine, and he strenuously resists attempts to turn him into a politician. He doesn't want to be an MP. He wants to talk about politics. So technically, he's not a sort of opposing politician to Lucy Powell. But Lucy Powell sees him as somebody from Reform, somebody from the right, as Labour would always say, the far right. And she thinks that as far as he's concerned, the grooming gang scandal, the rape gang scandal, is merely a device to hit her and Labour over the head with. That's the only way she looks at the grooming gang scandal. Tim looks at it as one of the greatest stains on this nation's history ever. 250,000 vulnerable young white girls treated like animals, like sexual playthings, by grooming gangs all over the country, mostly made up of Muslim men of Pakistani origin. And by the way, Philip, it is still going on. It is that mindset, the thought, you know, that this grooming gang scandal, the ordeal that these girls went through and are still going through, to be honest with you, to her, that's nothing. This is just a football to be kicked around in the stadium of the House of Commons. It's just disgusting.
It's funny, isn't it? Because what you see is her projecting herself onto somebody else. Her concerns, she's projecting her concerns, which are purely political, which are purely about herself, about her party. She's projecting those onto Tim, and I know Tim as well. And you know, he's absolutely. We talked about integrity. He's full of integrity. You know, so again, it just shows us what these people are. And I'm making a kind of little scrapbook of all of these instances, all of these terrible things that these politicians are saying. Every time the mask slips and we see them. And I hope some viewers are doing the same thing, because we need to top these things up. Okay, we need to understand it's not just one thing, it's not just another thing. They're all pretty much the same thing. They're all representations of how they don't care, their greed and their contempt for us. Okay, so what we need to do is keep a log of these things. I think individual people need to do that, viewers need to do that. And hold them to account. The only thing we can do is hold them to account at the ballot box. Okay, and last week, with Reform sweeping to these amazing victories, which was just some of the best things I've ever seen, we need to keep that in mind and push forward and make sure we finish the job, because they need to go. We finish the job in 2029, if not before, but we need to keep it all in mind. Of course, they'll keep reminding us, because they'll keep doing these ridiculous, egregious things. But you know. Politics, next week people will forget about these things. We mustn't do that. We must change. We must remember.
We need to keep in mind also, Philip, that Lucy Powell said this on Friday when the Labour Party was sulking, was in a furious sulk because the nation had delivered its verdict on its government so far. The most stunning awful verdict that any government could ever have suffered. An absolute statement on how much the people of this country are sick and tired of this lousy Labour government. So she's all sulky and angry. That's why she did it. She went on, of course, subsequently. By the way, Health Secretary Wes Streeting, he realised that this was more than a howler. This was a shocker. It was a shocker for Lucy Powell, and it was a shocker for Labour. He immediately issued a statement saying, sometimes politicians say things in the heat of debate that come across badly. You could say that again, Wes. He went on to say she's mortified and she would not want people who've campaigned on or been victims of these appalling crimes to think she was in any way trying to undermine those experiences or those arguments. Blah, blah, blah. Powell, she said her grovelling apologies was, I was challenging the political point scoring. He wasn't politically point scoring. He asked her, did you see Grooming, a national scandal on Channel 4? Oh, we're going to blow that little trumpet, are we? Oh, pass me the dog whistle. Shame on you, Lucy Powell. Shame on you. She went on to say, I'm sorry, I regard child exploitation and grooming with the utmost seriousness. I am sorry if this was unclear. Good God, it's pathetic, isn't it?
I mean, look, they've been clubbing us over the head with a TV show called Adolescence, which was actually fiction, okay? And they were putting that at the centre of their education policy for a time, okay? This is actually documentary. Okay, this is the real thing, and all she can think about is politics. I'll translate what Wes Streeting actually meant. In the heat of debate, people tend to tell the truth.
Yes, that's right. The mask slips. That's the story. That's what happened. The mask slipped. Just as it slipped with Jess Phillips. These people don't really care. They're lost in political space, and they have lost touch with the reality of what it is to be a citizen of this country, and certainly their sympathy or lack thereof for these poor victims is just shocking, absolutely shocking. A lot of people saying Lucy Powell should resign. I couldn't agree more. She must go. She'll probably be reshuffled somewhere, but she won't resign because these people have no integrity. But it was a career-ruining moment from which, quite rightly, I don't think she will ever recover. Lucy, you dug your own grave, now lie in it.